Live from Smitty1.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Take a lap.
What is going on, good people? You are watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm your man, Smitty. We've just been live for the last hour and a half doing combine breakdowns. We don't have a ton of combine information right now already because it's kind of a mess when you watch it live. They didn't do a good job of putting stats and direction as to what's going on, what's left, what's upcoming. It's just kind of a mess. But I think ultimately it's going to be amazing to break down after the fact. So we're going to do that. Terry with the immediate super chat. Terry says, "Here, take this." Throws a $10 bill at me right in my face. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate you. First in the building's Kenny, then RB, then AA. Guys, we had a very successful first stream on the Dynasty Clip channel. If you haven't subscribed to the Dynasty Clip channel yet, if you are still debating on doing that and you're like, I don't know if I want to yet. Why would I want to subscribe to another amazing channel that you have, Smitty? If you're still contemplating that, let me go ahead and put the link in for that channel. It is youtube.com / Dynasty Fantasy Football. Dynasty Fantasy. Come on. Fantasy Football. Am I spelling all that right? Dynasty Fantasy Football. Okay, I think that's correct. I'm going to pin the link. Please subscribe if you're new to that channel, because we're going to, I don't want to be disrespectful to the main channel, but I truly believe we're going to potentially make that channel rival this channel. It's not going to take it over. This will always be the baby, but we're going to do a lot of dynasty mock drafts and dynasty analysis and focalized dynasty player analysis on individual players on the Dynasty channel. So please subscribe. I pinned it in the chat, and I would love for you guys to get on over there and subscribe to that. We got another super chat from Joel dropping it in. We got Terry and Joel dropping it in. Dropping fire in already. Joel, thank you. Appreciate you. Followed by this. Thank you. Look at that. Look at Joel. Joel, Terry, super chatting, doing it live. Guys, here's that channel. Why don't I have a picture? Where's my picture? Dynasty Fantasy Football, youtube.com / Dynasty Fantasy Football, pinned in the chat. Click it, subscribe, don't miss out on that. Okay, 18 of you in here, hit the thumbs up on your way in the door. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. We've got a ton to discuss and go over. Is Treylon Burks the number one wide receiver? The first initial report was he ran a 4.55, which alarmed me. I was like, okay, he's faster than that, right? They updated to 4.45 flat. So that makes me feel better. Not that 40 is everything, but I was a little alarmed by that. But it sounds like he's gonna be just fine. So Treylon Burks, what I didn't know, I think he measured in at 6'2". He's bigger than I thought. Treylon Burks is a tall wide receiver. He's 6 foot. We thought he was 6'3", but ends up being 6'2". Little bit of a fudged height, reporting there. But 6'2", still big guy. 200. I don't know what he weighed in at. 218 to 220, somewhere around that range. Treylon Burks is a big wide receiver. He can be fine. 4.5 isn't fast, but when it heard his 4.55, bro, I freaked out a little bit. Okafor. I thought, okay, do we put Drake London in one? I don't let 40 times influence me too much. Jerry Rice's time. What was Jerry Rice's time? Jerry Rice 40 time was 4.71. Okay. AJ Brown 40 time was 4.49. So AJ Brown and Treylon Burks are the exact same speed. Is AJ Brown slow? Okafor, he can still burn some people, bro, when he gets the football. Maybe he gets caught by the fastest D-backer defender, sure. But AJ Brown runs the same time as Treylon Burks. I think we could be Treylon Burks. I think we could be okay with that. 4.55, I was about to freak out. I know it's not a huge difference, but it kind of is. So I'm okay with Treylon Burks running the 4.5 flat. I hope he could run faster at his pro day. If he can get like a 4.48, a 4.49, get under the 4.5, just break that number, breach it, get into the 4.4 somehow. I think I'll be completely fine with that. Number 2, who's our number 2 wide receiver? Is it Drake London? I'm kind of thinking it has to be. I don't hate the idea of getting a little crafty. So we have London here for now. Garrett Wilson's good. In the right spot, Garrett Wilson could be good, really good. He'd need to fall, I think, in the right environment. He feels a little more raw than Drake London and Treylon Burks. He just feels like when I watch him play, he reminds me of like a scat back, like almost like a receiving running back catching footballs. Even though he's not like a big guy, he's not built like a running back, so it's kind of an awkward thing to say and break down. Like I struggled trying to find a comp to him, and I struggled trying to pinpoint why I'm a little bit worried about him. And I think the best way to describe it is he looks like a scat back running back, like a small running back that isn't built like a running back, that's catching footballs kind of looking like a running back when he's catching and running and all that he does. Just a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of why I feel like I don't see the raw talent and ceiling and ability that I see when I look at Treylon Burks or I look at Drake London. Drake London reminds me very much of like a Mike Evans. Bender said it earlier, Mike Williams. So a lanky jump ball guy. I think Drake London could be that kind of guy, like a Mike Evans, potentially in the right spot. Treylon Burks, though, Okafor, did I see whose catches? Treylon Burks, though, I think he's probably got the most appeal, the most natural talent. The size is there. 6'2" is pretty good. 6'2", between 215, 220. What was his weight? Did we get a weight on official weight on Treylon Burks? Let's see here if I can pull this up. Treylon Burks is, let's see if they got the weight and everything in. Stupid thing won't load. Sometimes I can't stand NFL.com in the way. Let's review some of the 40 times. Let's see if any of the other wide receivers are popping in. Last we had it was Calvin Austin. Here's the leaderboard. So Treylon Burks, 4.5 flat. More impressive than that 4.55, which was initially reported, which caused a little bit of panic, just a little bit, because again, Jerry Rice 4.71. Let's not get too carried away about 40 time. And all we got to say is, so Jalen Burks at the Jalen. I keep seeing Jalen. Treylon Burks at the bottom, 4.5 flat. AJ Brown ran a 4.49, so almost exactly the same time. So we don't need to be worried about Treylon Burks' speed. We've seen players like AJ Brown become elite wide receivers. He doesn't feel slow at all. He feels like he can burn D-backs at anytime he touches the football. Could somebody catch him? Does he feel like a guy that can be caught? Yeah, because he's more of a physical guy. And where we at? Treylon Burks. Yeah, Treylon Burks is the number 1. Number 2, probably going to be Garrett Wilson. We'll put him at number 3. Did I say 2? I meant 3. So we'll probably put Garrett Wilson there. I know Jameson Williams is a guy that a lot of you guys like, but coming off injury, ACL tear, I'm not excited about him in year 1. So when did he tear that ACL? Williams was diagnosed with a torn ACL on January 11 after suffering the injury in the national championship loss. Yeah, so it's not a good look, guys. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him to have a good, productive rookie year. I would stay clear of Jameson Williams if you're talking about ranking him near the Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Treylon Burks range. Calvin Austin III, I like a little bit, but he's small. I know media keeps asking about him. He's like 5'9", 173 pounds. So there's only so much he could do at that next level. So just to answer that question. Chris Olave, 6'1", 189. I don't know what his official weigh-in was in size, but that's what he was weighing before he walked in. Treylon Burks was at 6'3", 225. He ended up being 6'2". But 220, 225, if he really weighed that, I don't know if anybody can confirm what his weight was. Burks he's a big boy. He's a big boy. 6'2", 220. That's a big boy. He doesn't look that big on the field, but that's impressive that he's weighing and sizing up that way, because I mean, 4'5" is not that slow when you're a 220 to 225 pound guy that's 6'2". You know, like, you can't expect him to be a 4'3" type runner. So Treylon Burks gets a pass for running a 4'5". I freaked out a little bit on the Dynasty live stream when I saw 4.55, but again, that was corrected. AJ Brown is a monster. Burks isn't a ferocious runner, says Okafor. Yeah, I mean, they're different receivers, even though they ran the same time. I wasn't comparing AJ Brown to Treylon Burks style-wise. I was just saying that AJ Brown runs a 4.49, or he ran a 4.49 at the combine, almost the exact same time as Treylon Burks. I was merely emphasizing, Okafor, that Treylon Burks has the same speed as AJ Brown, and AJ Brown doesn't appear to have a problem in terms of speed and separation at the NFL level. So I'm not worried about that. Is what my point was. Smitty is here for us. We need to be here for him. Thank you, Terry. You are here for me, pal. Okay. What else you guys got? Malik Willis's nasty tape says random. Yeah, I can't wait to break down the quarterbacks. 225 is what he weighed in at. Order says so. 6'2", 225 for Treylon Burks according to Order. I haven't confirmed that myself, but Order's a reliable source there in the chat, so I trust him. 4'5" is solid for his size, says Snoopy. I agree. That's what I was just kind of saying, is that if we can accept that AJ Brown, again, not comparing AJ Brown's physical play and the style of play to Treylon Burks, they're very different wide receivers. Treylon Burks reminds me of and again, I said this in the Dynasty live stream. Don't go running with this and saying, oh, he's comparing him to Debo. I'm not comparing him to Debo necessarily, but when you watch Treylon Burks and you try and comp him, Debo Samuel's like route running and style kind of comes to mind, and then the size of McLaurin came to mind. But McLaurin's much smaller. Treylon Burks actually is maybe the size of Debo, essentially. What's Debo Samuel's stature? Debo Samuel is 6 foot 215. Treylon Burks is bigger than Debo Samuel. So earlier when we were saying I'm not comparing the size or the strength, Treylon Burks is as strong and bigger than Debo. Or not say strong. Debo's really strong. I mean, he's the same size and has the ability to be. You can't say, oh, Treylon Burks can't be as tough at the NFL level. He's not as big. He's bigger. So he definitely could develop that size and strength, but or that ability to play at a big size. Like right now, he looks like he's playing at a small size. Like when I watch him on film, he does not look 6'2", 225. He does not look bigger than Debo Samuel. But Treylon Burks apparently is. And that's even more impressive. You have more of a reason to trust in this guy as the number one wide receiver. I'm really liking Treylon Burks the more and more and more I watch. The more the combine information is going to come in, and the pro day stuff, I think, will only improve it. Because if this guy can take his 4.5 down to a 4.48, 4.47, 4.49, that'll make people feel a little bit better to not see that 4.5 number. I think that could freak out some people. Calvin Austin, yeah, he's too small though, isn't he? I mean, what would I say he was? Calvin Austin? Not that you can't survive as a small guy, but Calvin Austin the third is 173.59. Like that could translate, but it's more rare than it is to count on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass on making him like a debatable top 4 wide receiver. I'm faster than Burks, Smitty, says Okafor. I might be faster than Burks, but that means I'm faster than AJ Brown. Okay, Okafor. So I'm just saying, if AJ Brown is acceptable, maybe Okafor, maybe we should be okay with Burks' speed. I mean, 4.5 is not. It doesn't sound fast because of what we're used to hearing and people hammering home that you got to be, this and that. But if you take a look at the 40 times don't really matter. If you look at the fastest wide receivers, let's take a look at the 40 times, the fastest wide receivers in the history of the combine. And I think when you see the results, all college 40 times, let's see, fastest 40 times ever. When you look at this list, you realize how unimportant it is. Fastest 40 wide receiver times. Fastest 40 times for wide receivers. Here are the top 5. There's a longer list, but I don't really feel like searching for it. The list is not that impressive when you look down the top 15. But here are the top 5 40 times ever for wide receivers. Mathis, Goodwin, Jacoby Ford, John Ross. None of these guys, it didn't do them any good. And if anything, I know it sounds a little weird, but when you run too fast, you kind of have hamstring issues and injury issues because you're almost too quick for your muscle. Like you pull a hammy all the time. Like look at Deshaun Jackson, one of the quickest guys in the NFL. Like even to this day, he's still one of the quicker guys on the field when he's on the field, and he always has hamstring issues. You don't want a wide receiver running a 4.22 probably, to be honest. Like look at the track record. John Ross. You don't want your wide receiver running a 4.2. It sounds exciting. It sounds amazing. Oh my God, he can run fast. But 4.4, 4.5 is plenty fast. AJ Brown runs a 4.49 or did at the combine. Yeah, so don't worry about that too much. Okafor is following up here. He says 4.5 is moving, bro. Half the guys saying that it's slow. Can't run. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was Holland. Robert can't run up the driveway. It's still moving. It's fast enough. Burks isn't going to bust off any big runs against the pro defenses. Mike Williams-esque, says BW. Bell ran slow and dropped balls, says Order. Cliff says Wes Welker ran a 4.65. Wouldn't anyone mind having someone like him, says Cliff. Cliffy boy, dropping some nuggets there. Anquan Bolden, 4.72, very good example. Jerry Rice, 4.71, I believe. So 4.5 is fine. 4.5 is fine. Drake London, I guess the question is, does anybody see Drake London as the number one wide receiver regardless of everything we just talked about? Does anybody feel like Drake London, because of his size, his ability to be a Mike Williams or a Mike Evans, does anybody think that Drake London should be the number one wide receiver ranked for the 2022 rookie running wide receiver class? Does anybody think that size that he has, the 6'5" size, which isn't that much bigger than the 6'2", Treylon Burks, to be honest? I mean, 6'5", it's definitely, he's definitely got, obviously 3 inches. I mean, but it doesn't necessarily translate, all the time. Just because you're 6'5" versus 6'2" doesn't mean you can't play with every defensive back that you face. You know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to say is the advantage of being 6'5" versus 6'2" isn't that huge when a 6'2" wide receiver, especially if you have a long wingspan, which we'll find out with Treylon Burks, it's good enough. You don't almost need the unnecessary 2 to 3 inches if it's going to slow you down. You know what I mean? So like when you talk about prototypical wide receiver and prototypical NFL player size, it does come into play where you say too much is not better. Being faster, running a 4.24, running a 4.2 flat, running a 4.25, running a 4.27, this doesn't help you. If anything, it hurts you. To be faster than 4.28, 4.2, to really be faster than 4.3 is not a benefit when it comes to being a long-term wide receiver in fantasy football and the NFL, because if you run a 4-2 and you're doing it constantly, your body's going to break down. You're going to pull hamstrings. There's too much going on here. We don't need a wide receiver to be 4-2 fast. You want him to be 4-3 to 4-5, fast. Treylon Burks at 4-5 is fine. You don't want a guy running a 4-2. You don't want a guy that's 6'8" going down the field as your wide receiver, because it's unnecessary. A guy at 6'2" with a long wingspan is going to tower over every other wide receiver, DB, enough that the extra 2 or 3 inches won't even help anymore. It only slows them down. I'd rather my wide receiver be a prototypical 6'2", like Treylon Burks, and 215, 220, than to be 6'5". Like 6'5" will work out. He could be a Mike Evans possession type wide receiver, but I don't know that 6'5" is an advantage over the 6'2". I'm just saying that. Prototypically, I don't think that Drake London has an edge because he's bigger. I think Treylon Burks measuring in at 6'2" and being 225 is as big as you want him to be. That's bigger than Debo Samuel. And not to mention, and what I'm saying, Okafor, is being 6'5" doesn't necessarily help you in jump ball situations against defensive backs in the NFL, because 6'2" is still taller and bigger and stronger than most defensive backs that you're going to be up against. So if you're a lanky 6'2", you don't need the 2 or 3 inches for the jump ball. You're going to get it anyway. So what I'm saying is I'd rather have that Treylon Burks size, to be honest, than the Drake London size, because you get a little bit more quickness, I would say. Drake London, I don't know what he's going to run, because Treylon Burks didn't run an amazing 40 time. Let's say they ran the same time even. I still feel like Treylon Burks looks quicker. There's something to quickness versus speed. Quickness, be able to cut on a dime, to be able to accelerate quickly, to change directions. That's more important for a wide receiver than straight line speed. So, like, let's say Treylon Burks is, other drills that measure the quickness and ability to change directions and accelerate. Let's say those come in bad. Then we have more to worry about, because he's 4.5 speed and he's looking not quick. But we know he's quick. We can look at the film and say, even if Treylon Burks had a bad day at the combine, I'd give him a pass, because I look at the film and I see him that he's quick enough, he's elusive enough on the field in game speed. There's no problems here. Treylon Burks is fine. He's my number one. I am curious to know if any of you guys think that Drake London should be the number one, though, because of his 6'5" frame. I'm just curious if you guys have any stances along those lines. All the 4-2 guys busted. Michael from accounting wants to say something. Let's hold on. Where's our mute? We need some kind of music for Michael from accounting. Says, I'm going to make a top 2022 top 10 Smitty off-topic rants. What is the farthest planet in the galaxy, universe, solar system? Was amazing. We talked about it earlier. We no longer, as Michael is alluding to from the Dynasty live stream, we are no longer, and I appreciate you compiling that data, we are no longer saying to the moon. We are saying to Pluto. Because Pluto, we learned on the live stream on the Dynasty channel, which is pinned in the chat. If you have not subscribed to my Dynasty channel, click it and subscribe. We learned that Pluto, not always, but most of the time, when it's on its longer part of its elongated rounding of the sun, is the furthest planet from the sun when it is on that elongated path. But then when it comes back in, it was Neptune. Neptune is the furthest planet from the sun, unless Pluto is on the elongated parts of its path around the sun. So from now on, instead of saying to the moon, we are saying to Pluto. And I think Treylon Burks could potentially be on his way to Pluto. Potentially. Thank you, Michael, from accounting. You were dismissed. Get to work. I put more weight on route running, grabbing contested balls, and football brains than pure speed. Exactly, Cliff. And everybody does. I mean, anybody that evaluates doesn't look at 40 time. Look at the 40 times here. None of these guys are good. You don't want to. You actually don't want to run a 4.2 as a wide receiver. It sounds crazy to say that, but you don't. History tells you you will not stay healthy. You will not be a good wide receiver. at the NFL level running a 4-2. Maybe someday somebody will break that. There'll be an anomaly. I do believe that will happen. Someone will run in the 4-2s that, the low 4-2s, whatever, that is one of the best receivers in the league. It will probably happen. But the odds are currently, as it stands now, against it. You don't want a running back or a wide receiver running a 4-2. Wide receiver, running back too. I don't think you want a running back running a 4-2 either. I mean, Chris Johnson was the one running back that comes to mind. Fastest running back 40 times. The guys that come to mind, Chris Johnson. Let's see, ever. Let's put ever. I don't care. I'm getting all these weird results from today's combine. But Chris Johnson was like the most notable fast running back, and he fizzled away really quickly. Tyreek Hill. Did Tyreek Hill ran a 4.29? So he was on the lower end of that spectrum. The 4.24s, the 4.25s, the 4.27s. Tyreek Hill, if he ran a 4.29, he's one of the anomalies for sure. Tyreek Hill, 40 time. 4.29. He did. You're correct. 4.29, which is impressive. Dude's definitely an anomaly. Doug says, Doug, it doesn't surprise me that you disagree with me. Let's just put it that way. But I also don't hate your take here. Usually your takes are a little bit out there, shall I say, Doug. But this is not crazy. Garrett Wilson, a lot of people like Garrett Wilson. There's nothing wrong with liking Garrett Wilson as the number one wide receiver. And I'll watch some footage again. I've been watching live footage and reacting to it with you guys during this combine here. And I'm going to type in right here, Garrett Wilson. And I've watched so much film on him, but I want to watch it live in front of you and comment and make observations. Here we go. Clicking the footage, watching Garrett Wilson video in front of Doug, giving you my live interpretation of what we're seeing on the field. 36 of you in here, hit the thumbs up. I appreciate you being here. Subscribe if you're new. Smash that button. I mean, just demolish that subscribe button. Just make it your biatch. Just hit the button, hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new, you found your new home. Okay, so here's my live reaction. I'm not going to show you the footage because YouTube won't allow that. But I will definitely tell you this is my live take on Garrett Wilson footage. And I've watched so much footage, but I want to give you my live analysis. When I see this guy pulling in passes, I see a player that I couldn't pinpoint for a long time what it was that I didn't love about him. Almost like a little bit of lack of power, I would say. So when I see him catch the football, he's not breaking free very often. And I don't know if the stats back that up, like if he's got a lot of broken tackles. But when I watch him on film, and when he's catching footballs, at least next to defenders is the way I'll put it. I don't see him breaking loose as much as I would like. Let me just see a couple more. He's quick when he gets to the outside. He runs raw. Kind of runs like a bat out of hell, like just let me just get out of here. His form when he runs is kind of awkward, and he wastes a lot of energy flailing around. But it doesn't mean he's not quick. It doesn't mean he won't do well at the next level. It doesn't mean he can't learn these things, which is what I said earlier. Like, I wouldn't put it past the man to continue to improve. And there are plenty of players, like even Marshawn Lynch coming in, he became a better player than he probably looked like he was going to be. And that's a running back example, but just giving you an example of a guy that exceeded expectations because he learned, he got better. Treylon Burks just isn't going to muscle you and drive through you. He's going to catch the football and kind of get stopped unless he can slip past you, because he is a little bit slippery looking when he's running, but he's not strong. He's not powering over you. So when I see him catch the football and I see him kind of knife through the field, I almost look at like a scat back. He just looks kind of like a running back that's catching a football, and he's not a big running back, so he's not a starting running back, but he looks like a scat back. And I know he's a wide receiver. I'm just giving you my interpretation of when I see him, what do I see? Like almost like a scat back catching a football and just kind of, trying to find as much space as he can until he gets tackled. He just doesn't look like what are his measurables? I don't know if they officially came in, but Wilson's 6 foot 188. I bet he's a little bit below 6 foot. But let's see. Does anybody have an official measurement and weigh in for Garrett Wilson yet? DK ran a 4.3. DK was fast. DK's one of those anomalies. DK's one of those anomalies. Yeah, Joel even said anomaly. Just big, strong, lowest body fat, that we've seen on a player. People actually said he had too low a body fat, that it was going to be a bad thing, that he'd get hurt a lot. Because you have too little body fat, it could be a problem, is what a lot of people said. I didn't necessarily fully buy into that, but it was something that we had heard for the first time. So we're like, I don't know what to make of this. People are doctors and people analyzing this thing were saying that low body fat could be a problem. Now, granted, he struggled last year, and we'll see how his career ends up. But I still think DK is very undervalued. In fact, I'd say DK is one of my favorite late second round players to grab, especially if you have that bookend 24-25. So if you have the JT pick at 1, you take JT. Like if DK's there at that 24-25 turn, that's a fantastic place to grab the guy. Like you could take DK and Swift. You could take DK. Chubb falls there sometimes. DK and Chubb. You could take DK, and you could go early on Josh Allen. I wouldn't even hate that. That's not bad. I really do like it. Wilson 6 foot 183. So he did come in at 6 foot. That's good. If he came in under 6 foot, that could have been a potential problem for him. Being 5'11" or whatever would have been just a little bit different. It would have people would have taken it a little differently. So 6 foot, okay. He doesn't look 6 foot on the field. In his film, he doesn't look 6 foot. I think that's because he's small. He's not like super like thick. And again, I like him. I just don't know that I see him being an elite wide receiver. I see him maybe being a fantasy football wide receiver too. Like he could get there. I'm not calling him a bust by any means. I just don't know that I feel it. Drake London, he could be a bust too. I'm not saying Drake feels secure. This wide receiver class in this draft is not the same as last year. As excited as I am about a couple guys, as much as I think one or two guys will emerge, whether it's 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, at least 2 guys will emerge and become potentially borderline, great talents at the fantasy football level. You know what I mean? Like we definitely could be looking at a guy like Drake or Treylon Burks or Garrett Wilson. I'm still putting Garrett Wilson potentially in that mix. He still could be. With a running back like, Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall, or maybe the 2 guys that emerge, or maybe there's 3. Maybe there's a wide receiver and 2 running backs. But I do feel like 2 of the players of the running back wide receivers, so let's say it's Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, 2 of them could be top 25 overall fantasy football players. Now, that isn't as exciting as last year, where we're like, okay, Javonte Williams and Najee Harris both could be top 5. Jamar Chase, look at what we got handed last year. Jamar Chase, top 6 in my opinion. Easy top 6. Top 4, really. Javonte Williams, top 5. Najee Harris, top 5. We have 3 players from last year's draft. 3 players from last year's draft in my top 6 overall. That is a phenomenal rookie draft class. And there's still a whole lot of talent that we're not talking about. Do I think that Walker and Breece Hall, Treylon Burks, Drake London, do I think we're going to get even one of those guys to crack into the top 5? No, I don't. You guys know how much I love rookies. I'm always very high on rookies. And I still think that we could definitely have 2 players in the top 20. But am I thinking we've got a top 5 guy here? Probably not. If Breece Hall landed in the most ideal of spots, maybe Breece Hall could be a top 5 to 10 guy if he landed in the right spot. Kenneth Walker in the very most elite, ideal landing spot could be a top 5 or 6. We'll call him 6. We'll call Breece Hall and Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, we'll say, is there a shot at 6 to 12? Let's not use top 5. 6 to 12. In the most ideal spot, one of those guys could be that good, but it would have to be ideal. And what comes to mind, like, I don't know if Buffalo would use Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker if they were to draft them. Let's just say, I'm just trying to give you an example of scenario. The way they use Singletary at the end of the year makes me feel like they want to run the ball more. I mean, Singletary only averaged like 2.5 yards per carry over his impressive stretch at the end of the year. Like, when you look at the yards per carry, it was bad. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like one of them in Buffalo would be great. I think one of them in Arizona could potentially be really good. If Breece Hall was in Arizona, I think they're going to feed the running back. If one of them landed in Seattle and Penny didn't stay, that could be a really good place for a running back. Just a couple, like, I'm just spitballing a couple landing spots. So Breece Hall in Buffalo, you might have a 6 to 12 overall fantasy football player on your hands walking in to the future if those landing spots are there. Cliff, I think Waddle will be top 10. No, Terry, he's going to be top 5 to 10, baby. Top 5 to 10, Terry. We are so high on Waddle inside this community, we are going to drive, unfortunately, his ADP to Pluto. We're taking it to Pluto, not the moon, to Pluto. Get your rocket ship ready. Jalen Waddle to Pluto. You heard me. At least Neptune and Pluto, because frankly they rotate, being the furthest planet from the sun. We learned today on the live stream. I've made a decision to hate on Burks and Juju and Lamb. Okay, Okafor, I hear you. I mean, I don't know why you want to hate on our boy Lamb and Burks, but that's all right, Okafor. We still appreciate you, buddy. Stop talking about Waddle. Yeah, we're not. Cliff, unfortunately, we're not. Waddle is going to climb at least 4. I'm telling you, it sounds arrogant to somebody that's new to the channel, but we literally will push Waddle into at least up. I would say guaranteed we move Waddle's ADP single-handedly. Our channel, our show, especially with the Dynasty channel now, which is pinned, and you better follow my Dynasty channel. If you're not, what are you doing? What are you doing? Really, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? I have my Dynasty channel, my new channel we just went live on, and we had an amazing live on it. If you aren't following me on that channel, but you're following me here, what are you doing with your life? But I guarantee you, we will move Waddle's ADP single-handedly at least 3 draft slots on ADP data. At minimum. Our community mock drafts so much. Our community talks about our breakouts so much. Waddle will be moved up 3 ADP spots minimum because of our channel and our community. Mark it down. I don't care. I want on the Waddle train, and we're pushing the content all off season long. Dude's going to be a top 5 potential wide receiver. I don't even know if I want to say 5 to 10 anymore. I think I'm just going to say top 5. Don't draft him there. Don't be reckless. Don't be a bad fantasy football manager and owner and take him at the 5 spot just because I say he's going to be the 5th overall wide receiver. Don't ruin it for all of us and screw the ADP data up that much. But if you can take advantage of getting Waddle around like the 9, 10, 11, 12 wide receiver area in redraft, you'll probably have to pay a little more in Dynasty. He has a lot of upside from there. I don't care if we move him to 7. He's got a lot of upside from 7 in a Dynasty format. And if he's inside the top 10, let's say we move him to 9. Let's say he's like 12 right now on ADP data for redraft. I bet he's right around 12 to the average bear. The average bear out there ain't the bear on the show, okay? To the average bear, this dude's probably ranking around 12, okay? Your grandma's ranking him at 12 or 13. Bob from accounting's ranking him probably at 14 and has no clue what he's even looking at. He doesn't know Waddle's about to be the next breakout player. He doesn't know that Waddle's about to look like Debo Samuel in that Miami offense where he already caught 100 receptions as a rookie and was utilized on the ground a little like Debo already. And now you got Mike McDaniel coming over from the San Francisco 49ers, who helped architect and blueprinted that Debo Samuel breakout season that we just saw, where the dude ran the ball a ton, caught the ball a ton, was utilized on the ground a ton. We are about to see Jalen Waddle do exactly what he did last year, which was catch 100 passes, but do a lot more, catch a lot more touchdowns, be a lot more involved in the grand scheme of things, and get a ton more runs. Maybe he won't get up the gut runs because he's a smaller running back. I get that. He's a different size, okay? We're not saying he's the exact same size as Debo Samuel. I'm not saying that he's going to be exactly the same in terms of running the football, but you get creative. Don't you think Mike McDaniel knows that? Don't you think Mike McDaniel's going to do a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of 1-yard turnarounds, 2-yard slants, get him in position to like turn into a running back in the defensive back situation? Like, this guy's going to catch a pass on the outside or in the flat or whatever, and then run toward defensive backs, not linebackers, not go up the gut and get hit by 300-pound linemen. We're talking about if it's special usage of the guy and you run him in a special fashion that isn't all up the gut like some of the stuff Debo would do, then you're going to keep him healthy. He'll be fine. Catching a football and doing a 1-yard hook or a 2-yard slant and kind of turning into a running back is no different than being a wide receiver in that position. He's going up against defensive backs and corners, so it's fine. It's fine. He'll run out of bounds a lot of the time. I don't want to hear that if Waddle's run too much, he's going to get hurt. It's more about, is he run smartly? Is he running in ways that feel like he's actually a wide receiver still? He's just turning into a running back in a sense in how he's moving and navigating the gaps and spaces. Waddle to the moon. No, not to the moon, Smitty. Waddle to Pluto, Smitty. Where's my take a lap button? What? It's not working. Waddle, you're Smitty approved. Is my Smitty approved button working? Nothing's working. Oh, God. Let's see. I think I gotta manually press this. But Smitty. Okay, now it might work. Take a look. Let's do something right now. Let's kick in the mic over here. I just dropped my remote. Of course, the backing came off. Fantastic. Let's do something here. Let's go ahead and move. Okay, we're going to move this over because we need to start utilizing this board. This has been up for over a month. I'm very proud that I've had this Trey Lance number 5 quarterback. I've got these sit-up straps coming down, hit me in the head. I've had Trey Lance up here for a month as the number 5 quarterback in fantasy football 2022. As you will see, do you see a dynasty anywhere? I don't see a dynasty anywhere. I'm looking at this board. All I see is 2022. No, 2022 dynasty and redraft. Trey Lance top 5 to 7. I've got him right here. There's a question mark because A-Rod, you could argue Lamar. Some might argue Kyler. I think Kyler's in for a bad year. I think he's creating this dark cloud above him that is made by him. It's not like doubt that he can shun off and weather through and become an elite guy. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? What is this line doing here? Why do I have a line here? So what we're going to do here is we're going to transpose this over here because I didn't want to touch this. I wanted to keep it here as long as possible because that's what I do. I leave a track record on my own board. I'm sitting here every day that I hit the take a lap button. Every day we show the board, you see Trey Lance sitting here because I want record of it, that it's been here from the beginning. And I hate even touching this. I thought about taking the boards off the wall because I didn't want to touch this and just moving the board over because I didn't want to have to rewrite this. I want it to stay put, but we're going to transpose it right now. Okay, so 2022 QBs. We're going to try and write it the exact same. and that way it's still here on the board to be seen every time we hit the take a lap button. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow. You know what? I'm gonna put Herbert 3. I'm gonna make a switch here, and we'll sign this. This is, what's today's date? March. So 3/22. Pat Mahomes. We're gonna go Justin Herbert. We'll go Joe Burrow. Trey Lance. I'm meticulous. It's got to be a straight line. Trey Lance. That is the top 5 quarterbacks for 2022. It makes me sad to delete this. It makes me sad to erase this, but I wanted to keep that on there all off season long, but we need to utilize this board. I'm also going to put a couple predictions here. That line is not straight. Jalen Waddle. Oops. Top 5. Jalen Waddle, top 5 wide receiver 2022. It's still not straight. It's got to be straight. It's got to be a straight line. There we go. Jalen Waddle, top 5 wide receiver. 2 of my bolder predictions for the year, I'd say, with Trey Lance being here and Waddle being here. So I like that. I like that. And if we're to rank wide receivers, I'd probably say that you have, 2022 wide receivers, you're probably looking at 1 Cooper Kupp in redraft, but you could make an argument on Chase or Jefferson. I think honestly, these top 3, or you could put them in a blender, and depending on how the wind blows, I could re-rank them. So these guys are equals in a sense. Number 4, who's number 4? Who's number 4? Who would I rank number 4? Who do you guys have number 4? Yeah, Herbert. I'm putting Herbert number 3. I think Herbert's gonna take a bigger step than Burrow took. So you guys are gonna start hearing me ramp up the Herbert talk. Herbert is going to be number 3. He was number 2 last year. It's not that bold, but I think people don't necessarily see him coming. Okay, so Hill, Adams. I think if A-Rod returns, Adams here. So this will be, we'll do this. Adams with A-Rod. If he doesn't have A-Rod, he's got Jordan Love throwing the football. He's out of my top 6, maybe top 7. So this is a question depending on that. Number 5. This is bold. This is bold. I am not asking any one of you to rank him that high. I am not telling you to rank this man that high. Why am I spelling it wrong? Why am I spelling it wrong? Jalen, not. I'm not asking you to draft this man at number 5. I'm asking you to draft him probably around maybe 10, if you can get away with it. this is where Waddle should be ranked. So if you're taking him at 5, you're making a huge mistake. You're not listening. Okay. We're almost done with the show. You can't even see Jalen Waddle. He's right in the reflection. What is going on there? Where's my music? 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the show. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the thumbs up. Let's see here. We got a couple voice messages. Oh boy, you guys have been hard at work. I don't know if these are all new. Let's see if this is from yesterday.
Yo, Smitty. I know a lot of people are down on this year's incoming rookie quarterback class. They're saying it's not as strong as years past, but
yeah, we're still going to get into that one. I think that was an old message. Willis, I mean, obviously I like him. We'll see. Let's get through the combine and then we'll break down the quarterbacks, because the quarterback's a little tougher to break down because the landing spots could be garbage and we don't really know what we're looking at yet.
What's up, Smitty? My
up,
question pertains
Ryan?
to the zero RB strategy. The more I think about it, the more I'm kind of gravitating towards taking 2 top-level tier wide receivers in the first couple rounds, then maybe grab my quarterback in the third, maybe a Josh Allen or something like that, and then grab the top-level tier tight end, and then, follow suit through the next couple rounds and pick my RBs. I mean, after this year, I saw a couple teams that took that strategy, and it looks a little bit more appealing. What are your feelings on that?
Number one, I don't mind what you're saying. Number two, though, don't take a set approach in. Like, I know you can go in with like a game plan. Like if the tight ends fall, you've done a lot of mock drafting, and you see that 9 times out of 10 you're going to be able to land the guy you want. So that's why you're planning for it. That I'm okay with. I don't mind going in thinking you might go wide receiver, but just take the best player available. I don't like in theory taking, unless you're getting Kelsey or unless you're getting maybe Mark Andrews as your third drafted player. And even then, I'd rather go after a Freiermuth or a Knox or a Schultz or, a Waller later in round 5 or 6 than go after a tight end in round 3. I feel like the wide receivers are still very plentiful. I feel like Josh Allen's still very attractive there, although I do love the Trey Lance later strategy probably even more. But I'd say I don't love the tight end early 3rd round, maybe late 3rd round, sure. I just don't love that. But I love the wide receiver if best player available calls for it. I actually prefer to be more balanced if you can. Like, example, Najee Harris, and then taking, a wide receiver that might fall in round 2. If you're up top of the draft, but if you're down low, like pick 6 to 12, I love going wide receiver. I love going Jefferson, Kupp, or Jamar Chase, and then getting a Swift. So balance is good if it makes sense for best player available. But I think setting yourself into a plan is not a 100 plan, strategy unless you're flexible with it based on best player available.
I was just wondering who you think had the best first day of the combine, I guess you could say, or first open.
Nevin, I wish there was that information yet, but we're still like in the middle of it, and no one's like competed everything, gone through everything. Burks didn't have an amazing run, but I'm still impressed with his 6'2", measuring, coming in size wise, and the 4.5 doesn't concern me. So we don't really have any standouts yet, and the data is still kind of coming in. If I pull up the data right now and refresh it, let me get to NFL.com. So we got 40 times. The wide receivers, we got Calvin Austin with the 4.32, but again, he's too small in my opinion. Treylon Burks. We don't have a lot of big name wide receivers to list yet that have shown up. Quarterbacks, we don't. It's weird. This data is like not even like updating. Vertical. What do we have for vertical on wide receivers? We have Calvin Austin, 39. So Calvin Austin's popping on the board, and that's why a lot of people are asking. Christian Watson, 38.5, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 highest vertical jump. And he's a guy we have pegged to maybe, if his ADP doesn't climb, or if his draft stock in the NFL draft doesn't climb, too high. The Niners, I think, are going to do their best to pair him with Trey Lance because they were former teammates, and I think Trey Lance wants, would love to be paired with Christian Watson, and that'd be great for Trey's development to have a familiar face in his development process. So get him out there as a wide receiver 3 eventually, and that'd be awesome for Trey Lance. Garrett Wilson at a 36 vertical, which is not too bad. Let's see. Chris Olaves is 32. He's kind of on the lower end of the spectrum. I'll break all this down in a video, don't worry. Garrett Wilson. So of the big name wide receivers that we've been talking about, Garrett Wilson's the highest vertical. So those of you that love Garrett Wilson will be happy about that. Broad jump, Christian Watson, 11.4. Biggest broad jump. Calvin Austin again on the board, 11.3. Calvin Austin's a specimen, but I just don't know that his size is going to translate and dictate into the NFL. Dictate his value. Like, I don't know that that's gonna be telling of what he's gonna look like. I'm trying to see if there's any other. What are we looking at here? This is broad jump. Garrett Wilson, 10.3 is about middle of the pack. Treylon Burks, middle of the pack, 10.2. Okay, so there we go. 3 cone drill, nothing yet. Those look like they're going tomorrow. The 20 shuttle, bench press, wide receivers. We have only 3 pieces of data to look at. Quarterbacks aren't in, so yeah, we're still looking at a lot of data to come in.
Hey Schmitty, it's your boy D. Just looking for some trade advice. I'm sending a guy in my league, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Hopkins, and a 3rd round pick, and I'm getting in return the 105.
Hey, what?
Just looking for some trade advice. I'm sending a guy in my league, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Hopkins, and a 3rd round pick, and I'm getting in return the 105 this year, the 202 this year in the rookie draft, Dallas Goedert. Hey Schmitty, it's your boy D. Just looking for some trade advice. I'm sending a guy in my league, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Hopkins, and a 3rd round pick, and I'm getting in return the 105 this year, the 202 this year in the rookie draft, Dallas Goedert, and a 1st round pick next year. Which side do you like better and why? I appreciate that, man. Thanks.
So 1.522 Goddard, 1st in 2023 for Hopkins and Hawkinson. What do you guys think of that? That's a tough one because, I mean, there's definitely some now potential in Hopkins still. Probably like the Goddard. I like Goddard as much as Hawkinson in a way. Not as, I'd rather have Hawkinson, but I'm just saying, like, you could argue that, I guess. And so basically Hopkins for the 1.5 and a 2023 first and a 2.2. I guess it ultimately depends on where this pick is. Like, if this is like a 12 pick, then I don't love the trade as much as I would if this is a potential, 1 to 5 pick. If that's a 1 to 5 pick, then I absolutely like it. I probably would do it. So I probably would do that. That's tough.
Smitty, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 22 Cup League is happening a little less than 3 months away. Make sure you get your spot today. We have a 96 team league coming up. It's very, very exciting. You're going to want to be a part of it.
Yes, sir. Go check it out. The Cooper Cup League, go check it out. I guess I'd just say you want in on that league. It's a 96 team league, 8 copies of every player in the player pool. So when the first round will be 96 picks, the second round will be 96 picks, the third round will be 96 picks. It'll take over potentially a month or two to draft, 1 hour timer, and with 8 copies of every player in the player pool. When you're on the clock at pick 96, the last pick in the first round, it's like you're in a 12-team league because of the 8 copies. So get in that. And last one, Johnson.
Hey Schmitty, great work on the slimming down, mate, and the intermittent fasting. Mate, I just got a question on some of these possible breakout wide receivers for this year.
Yep.
Thinking along lines like Gabriel Davis, Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman, Rondell Moore. Just thinking what you're sort of thinking about them and the situations that they're in. Hey, cheers, mate.
Yeah, appreciate you, pal. Yeah, been dropping the LBs. I don't know if you can tell. Smitty's looking a little slender. I've dropped about 8 to 10 pounds, I think, as of today. Doing the intermittent fasting and running like a beast. I'm running like 2 times a day right now. I think running 2 different times, like running in the morning and running in the evening, like does something to your metabolism. A lot of people tell me I'm crazy, but I don't care because it works for me. And I think getting to that point of being able to run twice a day and not feel like I'm carrying my body in a wheelbarrow, going down, just dragging it along. It feels like literally I'm running with a backpack full of weights when I have this extra LBs on. So I dropped about 10 pounds, and man, it feels great when I run. I feel light, and it makes me want to run more. So that fasting helped jumpstart my workout routine is basically what I'm trying to say. I've failed for 6 straight times, probably trying to drop from 225 down to 200. I want to drop 25 pounds. And fasting has really helped get me the jump start to being able to want to continue to work out. So yeah, I recommend it if anybody. Pickett ran a 4.67 unofficial. I mean, again, that the times don't really fully matter, but like when you see it, it is like shocking when you're like, okay, it's a bad time. But then you remember Jerry Rice ran a 4.71 or a 4.7. Yeah, I think a 4.71. Appreciate everybody. Drop a comment. I will comment to every single one of your questions if you ask me a question within the next 12 to 24 hours. Okay, so in the next 12 to 24 hours, if I missed a question or you want me to give you my thoughts on a player, a rookie, or trade, or whatever, anything fantasy related, please leave a comment when I end this video. The video will start off with 0 comments, and I will get to you. I will get to you. Yeah. And subscribe to the Dynasty channel. I have that linked and pinned in the chat. Please click the link. Subscribe to the Dynasty channel. We had a huge successful day today on the Dynasty channel. And let me click on this and see how many subscribers. We're almost at 300 subscribers already on this brand new channel. And I'm going to go live and do a lot of mock drafts on the Dynasty channel. Dynasty only mock drafts. So get ready for that. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow night or something like that, or this weekend at the very least. Maybe Sunday during the day too. So subscribe to the Dynasty channel if you want a mock draft Dynasty. If you want Dynasty content that's focused on one player at a time, that's what the Dynasty channel is about. Doesn't mean the main channel here is going to dial back any Dynasty content. We talk Dynasty and redraft all the time. Look at what we've been doing with Waddle. Look what we've been doing on the board. We're always talking Dynasty and redraft collectively. But the Dynasty channel will be even more so focused on hitting on one player at a time and doing the live streams for Dynasty. Appreciate all of you. My questions will be in the comments. Says random attaboy. I'm asking you. It helps the algorithm. Go to the Dynasty Clip channel and ask a question too on that live stream video. But definitely ask one in the comments here. Appreciate you. I will be updating you on all the combine stuff as it comes in. You can believe that I'll have an update video when this is all over, or maybe end of day tonight or whatever, talking about results and all that. So